Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to the architecture of Cyberpunk 2077. So today we're gonna go walk around Vista Del Rey. Vista Del Rey is the eastern part of Haywood. So so that's Vista Del Rey. Vista Del Rey means view of the king or the king's view. There are some suggestions that Arroyo across the river used to be a beautiful landscape, but now it's covered in factories. So whatever the good view was that the kings deserved, that is no longer the case in the current day Night City, right? Anyway, so Vista Del Rey is very similar to the Glen in the sense that it is an old district where the corpos are pushing in from the north. Right away we can see down here some of these older buildings, these brick tenements that we saw also back in the Glen, in the southern part of the Glen. And then above that we have all these giant highways, and then beyond the corpos have built a big bridging structure over to Arroyo, the industrial district to the south. We'll go look at Arroyo later in a later video, but for now we can say that the corpos do have some facilities in Arroyo and some industrial facilities in Arroyo, so I guess the corporation, the headquarters are just building their way to the south to connect their industrial holdings in Arroyo with the Corpo Plaza in the center of the city, right? So now they can just go all the way to Arroyo without ever touching the ground by crossing between the buildings across the bridges, right? So there's the whole dynamic. There's the whole dynamic of Vista Del Rey. We have poor people, we have corporations coming in, pushing above, and reaching over to go into Arroyo. I guess some of these people work in the factories across the river. It's not a nice area. It's rather poor. Rather poor and also under pressure by the corpos, who are always pushing down to the south and taking over more and more of the city, right? Don't get run over. So there we are. Like two different cities, look at that. There's people down here and then there's corpos up there. And they're completely separate. There's no way to get up there from down here. What is that? There's a brainwash. What is the brainwash? You know what? Let me just walk over there. Just check out what this thing is. Oh, an arcade. Look at that. Yeah, let's play video games in a video game. You can actually play video games in here, by the way. Yeah, that's cool. It's an arcade. So I guess people still have enough money to spend on arcades. So it's not like it's completely unlivable. But there's not much money going around, right? Alright, let's go. Let's go this way. We're heading towards the northeast along the southern edge of Vista Del Rey. Passing underneath the giant bridge. Actually, there's two giant bridges. So this appears to be pipes. I think these are pipes going to the factories to the south. I don't know where the pipes go. And then up there's a big commercial building probably. And that crosses over there and reaches Arroyo down there.
Oye, despacio!
And then underneath all that we have more modest buildings, older buildings. That one looks like it's missing some windows. Yeah, so that's basically the dynamic here. Big corpos above, more people below. There's balconies there. That looks like an apartment building. In fact, I think all of these are tenements, or most of these are tenements. They're kind of squeezed, aren't they? Look at that. There's a river here, and then there's the big Corpo tower looming behind them, and they're just kind of squeezed between, in the very last piece of Vista Del Rey that they can still live in. I don't know, maybe eventually the corpos will just take over the whole thing and push these people somewhere else, right? It looks like that's what's happening, although thinking ahead, there are some indications that the corpos are not doing that well. There might be some sort of economic contraction, or maybe all the corpos are pulling back because they're preparing for conflict between Arasaka and Militech. You know, if we think back to the Glen and how the park there is kind of abandoned and there's a lot of poor people and rubbish in the park, I think the corpos are kind of pulling back a little bit. So they were expanding in the past, and they certainly can do so again in the future. But I think right now, actually, there's a bit of a pullback. Not that it matters too much to us, I guess. But you know, sometimes we think about, well, why don't the corpos just take over everything? Well, there are limitations, right? It's not like the corpos are free to do whatever they want. They are limited by each other. They're in conflict with each other, right? I think there's an apartment, but I don't know what these ducks are. There's way too many ducks on the side of it, I don't know why. I think that's just there for decoration. Like, why would you have so many ducks on the side of the building? I mean, look. Okay, alright, let's talk about this. Usually, ducks like that would be inside the building, and they wouldn't be that big. So the fact that they're on the outside of the building suggests that they've been retrofitted to the building at a later date, right? So imagine if the building was not built with air conditioning, and then at some point they had to add air conditioning, and so then you put a whole lot of ducts on the outside. Okay. And sometimes you see that, like air conditioners hanging out the side of windows. And sometimes that's because they've been added to the building afterwards, after it's been built. That though, it looks more than air conditioning. It looks like something industrial. It could be they turned the building into a factory. Where there used to be a residential building where they turned it into a factory. That's extremely unlikely. It doesn't happen very often. Like, you're more likely to turn factories into apartments than the other way around. But I guess it's possible, like anything's possible, right? Anyway, strange. I think it's mostly just decoration. Coming over here, so that's over to Arroyo. Let's cross the road. Next up, we have some kind of industrial facility, but it's behind walls. And there's no signs on the outside, so we're not sure who owns this. If we look back there, it does look like corpo architecture, right? It does look like the black metal of the corpo architecture. Oh, there's a quest here. Let's not worry about that. What I want to do actually is climb up here and jump in. Alright, so we're not supposed to be here, but we can come back here if you know how to parkour. Right, so clean concrete, black metal. It looks like a corpo industrial facility of some sort. Oh yeah, no, not supposed to be here. There's rendering issues because you're not supposed to be back here. Oh, okay. There's no signage or anything, so we don't know what it is. Let's jump back out. I can take this fall. Great. So we had tenements, we have a bit of a factory thing. There is a mega block back there. We have... Actually, is that a mirror? Mega block number 5. We have the corporate buildings there, and then there's another corporate building here too. This one, if we look down the side of it, there's a med center logo down there. You see that? Med center. So the med center, if you remember, is over in the north in Little China, right? So down here, I guess they have a little bit of another facility, another medical facility, maybe? It does make sense to have more than one hospital in the city to provide better coverage. Like, if you have a medical emergency, you would want to get to the hospital sooner rather than later, right? And to reduce the distance, to reduce the time it takes for you to get to a doctor, if they have, you know, hospitals around the city, then you don't have to travel as far to get to the doctor, right? So maybe it makes sense to have another hospital here, like a smaller hospital, like a branch out here in the south, maybe. Continuing along, interesting mix, right? There's a mix of the old brick buildings, and then further along there's like a glass tower, and then some concrete towers. A curious mix. I mean, there's the balconies. The balconies suggest apartments. With big air conditioning units strapped to the side. I don't know about those giant fans, to be honest, but anyway. Right, so the buildings look like that. Some of these buildings look kinda new, look at that. It looks kinda new, but they're not that big. So this is what I was talking about earlier, right? It looks like the corpos were kind of expanding out here, but then they pulled back, right? And this is not the only time. If you remember back in Wellsprings, there were places that looked like they were meant to be expensive apartments, but then it didn't seem like the rich people actually moved in. So it looks like here they were planning to expand down here. But if you look at the details, there's graffiti down there. It's not actually rich people down here, right? What are these people? There's a bit of a market here. We got food stores. Vending machines. Bridges up there, I guess you don't have to come down to the ground. Right, so this is like a curious intermediate condition between the giant towers on the one hand and the poor tenements on the other hand. Something in the middle. So across the bridge there, that's Japantown over that way. Charter Hill there. So those are different districts. We'll go there later. For now, what's going on there? There's a bridge over here, and this is like kind of under construction. There's scaffolding on the side, so it's still being built. I don't see anyone working here though. Hold on, let me just run around back, take a quick look. Yeah, I guess this is kind of under construction. It's almost complete. No idea what it is. But it could be the corpo is gradually expanding this way, right? A whole lot of sky bridges, look at that. I think anything that's connected by these bridges implies that there are corpos who don't want to come down to street level. Oh, there's a logo over here, look at that. This is RCS, Riviera Courier Services, so that's one of the transport companies. And then there's apartments there. Like, the apartments look kinda like they should be expensive, but they're not very big, and in fact they don't look very lived in either. So, like, you know, more of this evidence that they were planning to expand, but then they didn't quite do so and they pulled back a little bit. Alright, let me cross over here. What does this actually say? It's probably just a street name. Yep, Republican Vine. Can we get in here? What does that say? It's a crime scene, apparently. Ah, so this was a shop. And it's turned into a crime scene. So you see what I mean? And there's graffiti on the walls in here. What on earth is happening? Yeah, no, this is exactly what I mean. It looks like they were planning to expand here, and it just didn't work out, right? And so this place is abandoned. Bad things happen here. Actually, I remember this. This is a story location. A big firefight happens here during the game. Okay, I remember this now. And you come out here, huh? Yeah, no, I remember now, yeah. So it's been abandoned. It's an abandoned building, but you can tell it was designed for corpos. It was designed for rich clients who never came in. So there were projections, and then the reality did not meet the projections. Alright, coming into the side street. In here, we're a little bit closer to the giant corpo buildings. And more of these apartments they look vacant, to be honest. Although they could be occupied, who knows. They look vacant. And they're all joined to each other, and they all go in that direction, like go towards Corpo Plaza. I think this is like the southernmost outpost of Corpo influence, basically. And they don't actually have the money to reach this far. They don't have people to fill these apartments. Coming in here. Let me get to this intersection. Right, again you have the mix of the giant towers and then smaller buildings, older buildings, newer buildings, they're all mixed together.
You know, I draw my lines, then I end up moving them myself. It's normal, compadre.
So from back there, not much.
You don't bend a little, break.
High octane. So this, what is this? Some kind of industrial facility. If I remember right, there's a sign somewhere that tells you it's a beer factory. A beer brewery. So our corpos on one side. Oh, it's a Biotechnica building. Interesting. Interesting. It actually looks like an older factory. Maybe Biotechnica took it over. Maybe they bought the place. Right, the scale of it doesn't look like a Biotechnica facility. Biotechnica buildings usually are much bigger. Alright, so Biotechnica took over that building. And then again we have the mix of the older buildings and the newer buildings. Alright, we're going underneath the mega block. And here, look at this. There's a barricade across the road. And then behind the road, this goes underneath the mega block. The road has been turned into a market, isn't that cool? Very cool. So there's a pedestrian, it's been turned into a pedestrian mall. And there's a whole bunch of shops inside. And in fact there are shops, I don't know, are there shops on the side as well? Kind of, yeah? Oh yeah. Great, look at that. So we said that there's a mega block above. So I guess all the people who live in the mega block, this is their market, right? They come down here to do some local shopping. And it's curious that they blocked off the road to allow this to happen too. In a busy city like Night City, like we see in a lot of other places, there's not enough space for cars, right? They stack up the roads, multiple layers, just to fit more cars in, right? And yet here, in this particular part of the city, they can afford to block off the road to cut the traffic off and turn it into a pedestrian mall. It suggests that there's less traffic here, and maybe specifically there's less traffic going this way. Because the Corpo Plaza is here, and I guess all the traffic goes this way between Corpo Plaza and the corporate holdings in Arroyo, and nobody comes from Japantown down to the Glen because people are too poor down here. And any corpos would be up here on their bridges, right? They wouldn't come down to the street level. So the street level, nobody comes this way anymore, so they can block off the street and turn it into a market. I mean, like, it's so unusual. In a city where there's way too many cars, there's not enough cars here for this road to make sense. There are a few places where this happened. If you remember back in the north side, there was like a car park that's been turned into a homeless camp. And the reason for that is because all the factories nearby had closed down, and so there's no need for a car park there anymore. There's no traffic there anymore. And so that's like a dramatic economic decline in that area. In this area, maybe this is the same. Because the economy is going downhill, there are fewer cars here, possibly. Or like, you know, all the traffic is going the other way and not this way. Because they're traveling between the Corpo Plaza and the factories and not coming here into the local area where the local people are. Right, so like there's a huge road right here. What is it? 6 lanes? 7 lanes? There's a huge 6-lane road here, and then that road is completely unnecessary. So all the traffic is going past, and nobody needs to turn in there. I guess nobody needs to go into the mega building, is what it means. Okay, continuing through here, and we're passing underneath one of these giant megacorp buildings. And once again, we are in the Undercity. Look at that. So there's a smaller building, and then there's this huge thing above. And not only that, there's these things sticking down as well, pressing down on the road. Kind of crazy, right? So this we turn this into a cave, and then there's stuff coming down from the cave ceiling as well. Pretty wild. If we go up these stairs, I think it is implied that there are doors into the giant building above, but they're kind of blocked off, right? Look. There's these doors here, but they've been blocked off, and there's homeless people here. I think these are meant to go into the giant buildings. So again, you see what I mean, right? At some point, the megacorps thought they would come down to the street level, so they put doors here. But then they decided they changed their mind. They changed their mind, they locked the doors permanently, and now a lot of homeless people are out here. So they've pulled back into their buildings, and they disengaged from the city. It's what it looks like it happened, right? They thought they would engage with the city, but then they changed their minds and they pulled back. And so now the separation between ordinary people and the megacorps is very sharp, and there's no connection between the two at all. Right, coming down here. I mean, all these things are shut. Nothing's open. Like, there are a few businesses, but not that many. Was that an alleyway? Is it a market back here? What's going on back here? Alright, coming in the alleyways. We have some stores and not much, to be honest. Alright, let's not worry too much about that. We're still underneath the giant building. And there's just a whole lot of nothing down here. A lot of poor people with nowhere to go. Because all the shops are closed. Look at that. That shop's closed. I think.
Yeah. Por aquí.
Guess where I'm aiming?
Indeed. Yeah. And then up there, there's the bridges. So all the rich people just stay in their buildings, cross their bridges, never come down to the street level. Because the street level looks like that, right? That's what's going on the street level. So in a way, I mean, you can understand why they don't come down here. But they're certainly not helping. Okay, do I turn this way or do I keep going the other way? I do turn this way. Okay, let's switch over and move towards the north. Over here we have a bit of a story location. Hold on, let me just look around first. What is this? There's like stuff above us. Okay. Can I get up there? Huh. It's a raised area, but not much is going on here. I thought maybe there'd be like an entrance to that building. But there isn't. Anyway, not much going on as usual. There's just like that tower in the middle of the street, and that doesn't really make any sense either. It's literally straddling the street. I don't know why that's there. There's no way this is structurally efficient, right? Legs. Oh, it's a brothel? Okay. Alright. So the story location I mentioned
¿Y solo por el servicio?
is this thing. This is a funeral home.
Nuestro.
We'll find out who
Dijiste que
did
estamos en
this.
la misma
La
torre.
No, I
Catrina
don't want to know.
Funeral Home.
We gotta hit back.
I said no. I don't want
We have a
any more of
reception, a bit of a waiting area,
Just let it go.
this. Enough
and then we
already.
go straight into the service area. Or like, you know, the funeral service space. So in the story, there is a gang smuggling operation in the back rooms and downstairs, and the gimmick is that they smuggle things in the caskets, right? So it's a funeral home, so there's coffins, and so they smuggle things in the coffins. That's the story. We're not going downstairs, and we're not going to look at the smuggling operation right now. But I thought we'd just come in here, check this out. Fairly basic. You know what funeral homes look like, right? You have a place for a ceremony, and that's pretty much it. Okay, where was I going? This way? This way. Let's take this loop in here. Although there's not much else that's new, we continue to have the giant building pressing down on the older buildings down below. Like, there are way too many pipes and ducts on these buildings. I don't know what these are. I mean, it's possible that the corpos took over and just turned these into factories or like ventilation machine rooms. And why are there so many ducts? Maybe they kicked everybody out and turned it into a place where they put the air conditioning units to provide ventilation to their buildings above, right? Who knows? Right, you have bridges across. They don't touch the ground. What is this? Bank and Trust. Are these open to the public down here? I mean, there are technically shops, but this place is not doing well.
Like yesterday. Not your problem.
Look at that, there's supposedly shops, but who would come here to shop, right? It's just not very nice down here. I think the corpos are killing the city down here, right? They've blocked all the light. They've blocked all the economic opportunities, and they're just strangling this place down here. Is what it feels like. Alright, looping around, following the street. As we continue moving north, it becomes more and more corpo dominated, right? And you can kind of see it. I mean, is this closed? It looks kind of old, right? Looks old, looks more industrial than it needs to be. Like, this is the part of town that tourists don't come to. We're turning north again. Coming around here, so this is one of the big freeways that lead towards Corpo Plaza, right? And it's just all... There we go again. People shooting people. This place is not doing well. Fashion. But everything looks closed. Or at least everything looks closed to us. There's an Arasaka building there, look at that. Ah! Bro! Should I kill him? Let's not kill him, you know what? Let's leave him alone. So there's a bit of an Arasaka building here, not a big one. And there, I think right there is Corpo Plaza. So we are very close to Corpo Plaza. And we have a bit of an Arasaka outpost here. But it doesn't look like they come out anymore. There's a door there. So there is a ground level entrance into the Arasaka building. But I don't think anybody ever uses it because they use the bridge and they don't come out to the street. Okay, we're turning this way. And in fact, if we look at this, there's another Arasaka building here as well. I find it a little bit interesting that the Arasaka logo is on one of these older buildings. So maybe this is like an old Arasaka building from a long time ago, right? Before Corpo Plaza was built. So this might be one of the earliest buildings, and they've retained it as one of their corporate outposts. But I mean, it doesn't look like anybody comes in here anymore. Again, there's the bridges, so they would come through the bridges from their headquarters and not walk along the ground. I mean, like small buildings like that, I feel like they only survive because there's a highway above it. And there's no way to build a giant tower here, right? So this property, this piece of land is not worth very much, because you can't build a tall building here, right? I kind of imagine if you could build a tall building here, the corpos would have came in and took over. and put a tower or something. Like they have here. That's very interesting video game. Very interesting. Coming through here, there's a big road. Oh, that's one of the roads going into Corpo Plaza again. N-Card Station? Where are we, by the way? Congress and NLK, alright. And then, under the road, and we have Adverset Hotel, and the sign is completely graffitied. Look at that. A Corpo Hotel, isn't that cool? But it's like that, so they don't walk through the front door anymore, the corpos. I mean, look, this used to serve rich clients, right? Rich people used to come in here and go in the front door. But not anymore. Instead, I guess they go through the bridges above. And there's bridges there as well, so a lot of bridges there. So I think the hotel is still operating and rich people still stay here. But they don't come to the ground, right? They go through the bridges to get to the hotel. And if you look at it, well, I mean the grass is still green, that's kind of crazy. It used to be quite nice. There's like a bar there. I don't know if these guys want to be in a fancy bar outside on street level. This sign is not graffiti. I don't know how plausible this is. Look at these people. You're not safe. If they were inside a glass box or something, behind bulletproof glass, maybe I'd believe it. But anyway, according to the game, we are a few steps away. Yeah, I don't know about this. Cause like the sign's completely graffitied, so there's no security down here, right? I don't know, maybe they still go through the front door. Not sure how plausible that is. I mean, the door is here, apparently, and there's rubbish piled up. You're not gonna have rich people walking through that, right? Alright, giant corpo towers. And more giant corpo buildings behind. Holy crap, look how big that thing is. We're gradually transitioning into something that looks a lot like the city center. Although there's still stuff like this down here, right? These older buildings down here. But more and more we're looking more like downtown. Well, I mean uglier than downtown. More and more like parts of Corpo Plaza. Are these shops? Yes. And then we have a bit of a landmark. Dicky Twister. Guess what Dicky Twister is? Dicky Twister is a male strip club. Yay. So it's surrounded by all these corpo buildings, but somehow it has managed to survive. I guess the corpos also enjoy Dicky twisting from time to time. Let's go inside. There's no actual naked dudes in there, so don't worry. But let's come in here. Oh, look how dirty this place is. But maybe that's part of the appeal. Nobody's even dancing. Oh, there they are. He's fully clothed? It's supposed to be a strip bar, why are you fully clothed? Anyway, So this is Dicky Twister. There's bars and seating areas and men wriggling of their bodies around for your pleasure. What are you even doing? What are you... This guy is... He's not even working. Seating areas. And then we have a bar back here because you need alcohol, I guess. Alright. Neon lights, smoky and dark, and graffiti on the walls, and a lot of men. Well, there you go, not much else to say. A fairly standard strip club, although it's quite large. You know, it's quite large, huh? I get the impression they make quite good money down here. Even though it looks dirty, I think that's the... Like, they do that on purpose. I think they make a lot of money. Because they're surrounded by corpo clients. Whoever's... And so they have a lot of money to spend. The local people. Yeah, and the size of this place in this part of the city... They probably make a lot of money. Alright, we're gonna go all the way to the Riverside, which is the next intersection. As we come through here, yeah, well, giant corporate towers above us. So along this side, along the eastern side of the district, there's a direct connection from Corpo Plaza all the way down to Arroyo. And it's just big towers and bridges all the way across on this side, right? And then I think we're crossing this bridge.
Hollow candles, fake flowers, pan de muerto buns. What will you offer?
Cool bridge. I mean, they give you plenty of pedestrian access across the road. That's kind of nice.
The NCPD advises those traveling beyond official police jurisdiction.
That goes towards Corpo Plaza. Oh, yeah, that's very cool. Look at that. Bridges above bridges, towers above towers. And then this is pretty much the end, or the northern edge of Vista Del Rey. I mean, you can hear this is basically a microcosm of the district, right? Like you have small buildings down here, looks very normal. And you have the giant corporate towers squashing them from above. Just the contrast and the juxtaposition between that and that. And this is the whole story, right? This is the whole story of Vista Del Rey. You have normal people down here trying to live their normal lives, and then big corporate money coming in and taking everything over. This is great. Like that side by side, extremely cool. If we get over here, that says Orbital Air. Orbital Air is one of the spaceflight companies. Let me like come over here. Can I get like a good view of this, or is this too bad? No, this is... The foreshortening is too crazy. Can I like... Try to get a good screenshot of the juxtaposition between like the smaller building and the massive building behind, like this, right? Insane. Okay, let's go back south. Oh, before we go all the way south, if we duck through here, over on this side, so Japantown is on the other side. Over on this edge by the river, there's a bit of a pedestrian space here. I guess there's supposed to be a bit of a park here, but it's deteriorated. There's abandoned cars. I don't even know how the cars got in here. Because, well, they drove in through there. Anyway, abandoned cars. So this used to be a nice riverfront area. A riverfront park. Maybe the corpos thought they would come down here and enjoy the park. But as with everything else in the city, it's been completely taken over by poor people. And there's rubbish everywhere, and it's poorly maintained. So the corpos don't come down here anymore, so they pulled back, right? Like we said. And again, we see the hints of Japanese architecture, like the handrails have little interesting carvings on it, and the rocks are slightly aesthetic. But yeah, no, it's been turned into a homeless camp. Right, so this used to be nice. It was meant to be nice. But poverty has taken over. Is there a thing about? Let me just check that little structure there. Can I get past?
Oh, watch yourself.
Terraces? What is this? Is this? I have no idea why this is here. Okay. Some aesthetically interesting rocks. And if we follow this pedestrian park all the way to the end, you see that there? That's a pedestrian footbridge. A pedestrian footbridge in Night City! Remember how every bridge we've crossed so far has no accommodation for pedestrians? This is like the only pedestrian footbridge in the whole city. And it connects the city center to Japantown. So the only place where pedestrians are welcome is between Japantown and the city center. No one else. And Japantown looks pretty rich. They look like they have plenty of money. And obviously the city center has plenty of money. So the only footbridge is between the two districts that actually have a lot of money, and then none of the other districts have pedestrian access. Especially not to Little China. It's not going to plan though, because this used to be a little park area. But things are not going well for these shops. It's a sex shop. Okay, let's get back out of here. I mean, you can kind of see it, right? You can kind of see there used to be... Somebody thought at some point, oh, let's make a nice pedestrian walkway connecting Japantown and the city center so that people can walk all the way, and then there'll be gardens along the way, and then there'll be shops, and it'll be nice, and it's not nice. It didn't turn out nice. Things didn't work out. There's way too much poverty. You can't contain the poor people. There's homeless people everywhere. Alright, so finally we're gonna go down the eastern edge of the district. Along the river, like we have these older buildings, looks like apartments, on one side, and then giant towers on the other side. Yeah, yep, this, right, so like, what's it, 3 stories, 4 stories? 3-story modest apartments on one side, and then giant towers right next to it. I'm surprised these guys haven't just taken over. Like, why do these people still exist? Why do these guys still exist? right? I mean, why don't they just bulldoze all these buildings and turn it into another park or something? Because there's so few of them, right? It's just like one narrow line.
Pan de muerto buns. What will you offer Santa Muerte?
Outdoor seating. Who would sit here? Outdoor sitting for a cafe? And this cafe, look at this. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, no, there's no way this is doing. I mean, it says open. How do how do you stay in business in a place like this? Because those guys aren't coming over for coffee. They have coffee inside their towers. They're not coming down. How do you stay in business? I have no idea how these shops still operate.
Eat to your heart's content in Coyoacán.
What's he doing? Fast food? Oh, look at that. Hey, burgers and fries. Nice. But who actually eats this stuff? You know, like... So, like, you need a certain amount of critical mass for your business to function, right? You know, like, if you run a business, you have, like, if, let's say, look, you're running a fast food place like that, you're selling burgers and fries. You need to sell a certain number of burgers every day to pay the rent, right? To pay electricity and, you know, and to, like, pay for your own needs. So if you don't have a certain number of customers, then you just can't run that business. You lose money, and so then you just close the business down. So there's a threshold, right? There's a threshold. You have more... You sell more burgers, that's great. You sell less burgers, you're bankrupt, right? And there's a threshold there. And so this threshold thing, this kind of concept, what happens is as the economy declines, you're gonna cross the threshold where everything just collapses. And it might not happen all at the same time, but there's like every business has their own threshold. And like the economy can go up and down, and you might be kinda okay, you can keep up. But once it sinks below that threshold, everything falls apart. And so that's what I mean earlier when I said, like, how do these businesses stay alive? Because they shouldn't. Because look, let's say the threshold is you need to sell 50 burgers a day to make enough money per burger to stay in business, right? And so as long as you can sell 100, you're doing great. You sell 50, you're doing okay. But once you get to 40, you're bankrupt and you're out. And so it's, you know, you can have like a lot of business, you can have a moderate business, and then once you get below the threshold, you're gone. And so this doesn't look like these shops, this small line of shops, and if none of these people come down for burgers and fries, then there's not enough customers here to keep these guys in business. It's not like, oh, if I sell one burger a day, then I'll sell one burger a day. No, you can't do that. If you sell one burger a day, you go out of business. So either you sell 50, or you just leave. There's no compromise. You know what I mean? So when you're designing a game like this, just thinking, look, like at some point, there's no such thing as being a little bit poor or being half poor, right? It's not like there's not a continuum between being completely broke and being super rich. It's not a smooth continuum because there are breakpoints, right? There are thresholds. Like as you get poorer and poorer and poorer, and then this is zero. Like there's a gap there where you're in business and then out of business. Like you go from like 50 burgers to 0 burgers. So it's not, there's no continuous. Well, I mean, there's like in some places it is a continuous spectrum of how much money you have, and then in other places there is no spectrum. It's just either one or the other. So when you design, like when you kind of have a fiction like this game, like a fiction about economic distress, like, it's not realistic if you have a guy who sells 5 burgers a day, because nobody sells 5 burgers a day and stays in business. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And so, you know, like, as we look at these districts, you have like rich people, you have middle class people, not that many, and you have poor people, and then, but it's not continuous between poor and homeless, right? You can be kind of, you can have a modest means, and then you're completely broke, and there's nothing in between. I'm trying to illustrate that, but I can't think of an example right now. Sorry. I think later we'll see some of this as we go to other places. Well, maybe not. Like, in some places they're like hotels, in places that don't make sense. Anyway, we'll leave that. We'll talk about it when we look at it. As we come down here, it's the same stuff, right? Like these small shops that don't look like they have enough business to stay alive. Although this building is connected to those and those. And this is the RCS building. Yeah, we've seen this before. So this is one of the Corpo buildings. Nobody uses this door anymore, right? Alright, so that is our walk through Vista Del Rey. We didn't really see anything new. Interestingly, the only thing new that we saw were small Arasaka buildings. Small old Arasaka buildings. I mean, and Dicky Twister. I mean, maybe you're into Dicky Twister. Small older Arasaka buildings suggest that they are relics back when Arasaka was not as big, or they didn't have as big of a presence here in Night City. So, like, relics from a long time ago, possibly. Vista Del Rey is, I guess, the coolest part, or the most illustrative parts, is where you have like the small 4 or 5 story brick buildings and then the giant corporate towers right behind it, right? So that basically sums up Vista Del Rey. You have people, the old city, people still living how the city used to be before the corpos arrived, and then you have the megacorps pushing in with their ginormous towers, and there's zero connection between the two of them, right? The population who lived here and who continue to try to live here, and the rich corporate companies pushing in and building giant towers into the space. Yeah, and there's no cooperation, there's no compromise, there's no interaction. It's just there, right? The two things, and the contrast is sharp. And you know, it doesn't look like these guys will survive, right? It looks like the corpos will take over everything, but they might not. As we said, the corpos are fighting each other, and maybe they just don't have enough resources to continue expanding like this. And we did say that there seems to be some indications that the corpos are pulling back. Like, they used to have doors up to the street level, but then they're closed, permanently closed. So they're pulling back into the buildings, and maybe it's because their conflicts are taking up too much of their resources for them to expand in the city. So they kind of like took over half the city and half the district, and then they stopped, they got distracted, and now the people who remain here, like they kind of neither here nor there. Like, did they stay? Or did they try to go somewhere else, right? Like, do they expect the corpos to finish the job and so they should just leave now? Or do they think maybe the corpos will pull back? Like, who knows? Who knows? It's there's an unstable equilibrium, and it can change anytime. Alright, so that's Vista Del Rey. In the next video, we are crossing the river over there. So that's what's it called? Hold on, let me look this up. So we're done with the central island of the city. Over here, this is Westbrook. Westbrook is on the eastern part of the city. And there are 3 districts. There's Japantown, there's Charter Hill, and there's North Oak. We're gonna go around here, walk through Japantown next time, followed by North Oak, and then Charter Hill. Alright, so that's the plan. See you next time, where we go that way into Japantown.